Actually, in ninth class, we have to finish 6 poems. In our book, there are total 10 poems, but in ninth class, we have to finish 6 poems. So, after finishing the poetry, then we will continue the prose if still lockdown is continued. So, from according to that schedule, we shall start today. The fourth poetry after Blenheim. It's written by Robert Sade. And let me tell about Robert Sade. Robert Sade is a romantic poet. Let me briefly introduce who is William Wordsworth, the famous romantic poet John Keats also. Some of the famous romantic poets are William Wordsworth, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, John Keats, P.B. Shelley, etc. And among them, there were two older poets, older generation of poets, William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And Robert Sade was the friend of these two older generation of poets, Wordsworth and Coleridge. As, at least I think you have read the poetry of Wordsworth in your earlier classes. If not, you have to read uh, in this book also the poetry number 6, Daffodils by William Wordsworth. Later we shall read. However, as a poet, Robert Sade is not as popular as William Wordsworth or Coleridge. Yet his poetry has a simple language, and especially this poetry is suitable for the children. Okay, this poetry is suitable for the children. Is after Blenheim. So that's enough for the brief introduction of the poet. Only know that Robert Sade is an English romantic poet, and he was the friend of William Wordsworth and Coleridge. And let me briefly discuss also about the theme of this poetry. Actually, after Blenheim, Blenheim is a place. Actually, Blenheim is a place in England, and what happens here? There was a time when in Blenheim a battle was fought between the English people and French. So this poetry has the war background. This poetry is set at the backdrop or background of war battle. Okay, there is a special category of poets called war poets, or special category of poetry called war poetry. Some of those poets, they did not support war, and some of them support. Here also from this poetry we can understand that the poet actually says against the warfare. There are actually two types of war poets. One type of poet sees war from the romantic point of view, that war is a great thing, to sacrifice life in the warfare or for one's own country is a great deed. It's called martyrdom. It's a great deed that we are sacrificing our lives for our mother country. We are fighting for our mother country. This is called romantic notion. And some other side of the war poets, they have realized from their first-hand practical experience in the battlefield that war is a place of destruction. It destroys thousands and thousands of human beings' lives, young men's lives. Okay, that young man who is the husband of a lady, who is the son of a mother, etc. So for the loss of those young men, the mothers weep at home, the wives weep at home. Okay, so war does nothing but destroy the lives. So from this poem also we will have this kind of idea, the futility of war, that means insignificance of war, that war is not a good, rather a bad thing. Suppose India fights against Pakistan, and India A few days ago, one incident happened. The Chinese soldiers killed almost 20 Indian soldiers, as you know, on the Indo-China border. So what happened? Whoever killed the other, whether the Indian soldiers are killing Pakistani or Chinese or the vice versa, some of the young men they had to lose their life. Some few women they had to lose their husbands, their sons, etc. The sisters they lose their brothers. This incident happened. So let's start the poem after Blenheim and Blenheim here. Blenheim is actually the place name of a place in England, but here is the name of a war because in that place the war was fought. Okay, and this poetry is simple, no problem. You can easily understand after reading. It was a summer evening. Old Casper's work was done, and he before his cottage door was sitting in the sun, and by him spotted on the green his little grandchild Wilhelmine. The rhyme scheme is written at the end of these lines: A B C B D D. This the same pattern is followed throughout the whole poem. A B C B D D. However, let's explain the meaning. It was a summer evening. So as you can understand that it was evening time in summer season. Old Casper's work was done. There was the mention, or there is the mention of an old man called Casper. Old Casper's work was done. So with the fall of the evening, old Casper, the old man, old Casper, he had also finished his work, and he before his cottage door. In the meantime, let me tell you the language of the romantic poets are very simple, especially Robert Sada's language, very simple. So, and he before his cottage door was sitting in the sun. He before his cottage door. Cottage, you know, normally inhabited by the poor people. Cottage, okay, a kind of house. He before his cottage door was sitting in the sun. So during the evening time when sun was almost going to set, okay, at that time, old Caspar, after finishing his work, day's work, he was taking rest, uh, was sitting in the sun, in the sun, in the sunlight, in the dim sunlight during the setting of the sun. And by him spotted on the green, by him means beside him, by him means beside him. Spotted. Spot means, you know, spot is used here as a verb. That means played. By him played on the green his little grandchild Wilhelmine. So old Caspar has a grandchild. His name was Wilhelmine. And that grandchild was playing or sporting beside his grandfather during that evening time. On the green means on the green field or on the green grass. Okay. Attached to their cottage. इतना तो stanza. Then what happens? She saw her brother Peterkin roll something large and round, which he beside the rivulet in playing there had found. This is very interesting, a mysterious thing. He came to ask what he had found that was so large and some smooth and round. So in the next stanza, what is the description? Description of the discovery of something round. Rather, let's continue the suspense. We'll come to know after discussing what is discovered. See, so from the pronoun we can understand she means here is the mention of a girl. She saw her brother Peterkin. Okay, she saw her brother Peterkin roll something large and round. She saw her brother Peter. Yes, I did a mistake rather. By mistake, I told that Wilhelmine actually is the name of the daughter. Grandchild here it's mentioned. Grandchild is common gender. Wilhelmine actually is the sister. Because from the next stanza we can understand. Grandchild, um, that means granddaughter Wilhelmine, and she saw, because after that direct noun or proper noun, as here it is the pronoun, so from the she we can understand that Wilhelmine is the granddaughter. Grandchild means she is the granddaughter of that grandfather Old Casper, and she saw her brother Peterkin. So there is the introduction of another character, another boy. She saw her brother Peterkin. So Wilhelmine's brother's name was Peterkin. She saw her brother Peterkin roll something large and round. Roll means playing with or sporting with. Roll to rolling something round shaped and playing with that. So suddenly that Wilhelmine noticed or marked that when she was playing beside her grandfather, that her brother also nearby, her brother also was rolling something, and the shape of that thing is large and round shaped, and that was large in size. What is that? Let's continue the suspense. Which he beside the rivulet in playing there had found. Which he, that means Peterkin, had found or discovered here beside the rivulet. Rivulet ka meaning है, rivulet means a small stream, a small river. When her brother Peterkin was playing beside the river, beside a small river called here no mention of the river, beside a small river when he was playing, at that time that boy Peterkin discovered or found something round shaped and large thing with which he was now playing, and that was noticed by his sister Wilhelmine. He came to ask what he had found that was so large and smooth and round. He came to ask. Actually, that boy is a very little boy. He didn't have the idea, he did not have the idea about that round shaped large thing. So he asked, he came to ask what he had found. He uh, came to ask his grandfather as well as his sister that what he had found, that what is this thing, grandfather, that it was so large and it was very smooth and round. Okay, and what is that thing, that will be clear in the next stanza. What is that thing? Old Casper, without wasting time, old Caspar took it from the boy, who stood expectant by, and then the old man shook his head, and with a natural sigh, "'Tis some poor fellow's skull," said he, "who fell in the great victory." Whenever that little boy, Peterkin, came to ask about that round-shaped large thing, old Caspar took that thing or took that object from his grandson, that means from Peterkin, who stood expectant by. Expectant means expecting a reply or expecting something. That means whenever that grandchild Peterkin came to old Caspar, and when his grandfather took that thing from his hands, so quite naturally the boy was standing there expecting the reply, immediate answer given with that what his grandfather is going to tell about that thing, because he is very curious to know about that thing, that what is that. And then the old man shook his head and with a natural say. Actually, as soon as the old man saw that round shaped thing, the old man could realize and understand what is that or what was that. Then the old man shook his head. He was shaking his head and with a natural sigh. Sigh, you know, S-I-G-H, a long exhalation. Inhale and exhale, we say breathing out something, breathing out, exhale. And normally sigh is um, whenever a man sighs, when a man suffers from something, suffers from a kind of pain, or whenever a man is in a kind of tense situation, tension, at that time a man falls sigh, natural sigh. Or after a kind of great loss, suppose if any student has failed in the exam, after that, after a great loss, after something, after a kind of great suffering, when a man feels pain in heart, normally after these kinds of symptoms or situations, a man falls sigh or sighs. Sigh means a long exhalation. Okay, inhale and exhale, breathe out. So with a natural sigh, breathing out carbon dioxide in a for a long period of time, if we want to understand technically. So and with a natural sigh, it is some after giving this sigh, the old man told that it is some poor fellow's skull. Ah, it is some poor fellow's skull, said he, within quotation. This was uttered by the old man. It is some poor fellow. Here poor does not mean who has less money. Rather here poor means helpless, unfortunate. Okay, unfortunate, unlucky. Ah, it is some poor fellow's skull. Skull, you know, as you know, skull, skeleton and skull, you know, it needs not to be explained. So, oh, it is the skull of a poor fellow, an unlucky person, a helpless, unfortunate person, said he, who fell in the great victory. Here is the mention of great victory. So, who fell means who died, who was defeated, who lost his life in that great victory. And what is that great victory? From the background, we can come to know that there was a battle or warfare fought between the English force and French force in that place called Blenheim. So after that warfare, thousands and thousands of people from the both sides lost their lives. So this is the skull of a dead man, this round-shaped thing which was not recognized and identified by that little boy Peterkin. So it is the skull of any um, unfortunate person who lost his life. He might be the English, he might be the French person. Understand? Then I find them in the garden, for there's many hereabout, and often when I go to plough, the ploughshare turns them out. The old man still continues his speech. He told that I find them, now see, in plural number, I find them in the garden. In plural form, them means it refers to the skulls in innumerable numbers. I find them in the garden. And I find, that means the present indefinite form. You know, present indefinite form is normally used where? When anything regularly happens, any work that often happens, and any regular work. Okay, so I find them in the garden. The old man tells that or told that he find these kind of skulls often in his garden when he works. For there's many hereabout. For there is many hereabout. That means there are so many skulls here and there. And whenever that old man works in his garden, he often finds such kinds of skulls. So from this description, you can understand that at that time how many people died, but their dead bodies did not get any funeral rites, because it was the warfare. It was not the normal death. Such such an innumerable persons died that it was not possible at that time to arrange any funeral rites for those dead bodies, to collect those dead bodies and um, get any funeral rites. So tis some poor, sorry, and often when I go to plough, the plowshare turns them out. The old man said that often whenever I plough in my field, the plowshare, that means that instrument with which I mean that functions like a tiller. So that plowshare, that means that cuts the soil, that instrument, metal made, that plowshare turns them out. It is the function of the plowshare to turn out the soil so that the soil can become fertile. Understand? So the old man was saying that whenever I plow in the field, in innumerable numbers, so many such kind of skulls I find in the garden, and my plowshare turns these kinds of skulls out. Turns out means these kind of skulls were under the ground. They are buried, they are covered under the ground, they are unseen, invisible. But whenever the plowshare turns out the soil, these skulls came out. Okay, these skulls came out. Page. For many thousand men, said he, were slain in that great victory. For many thousand men, said he. That old man told that for many thousand men, that means thousands and thousands of people, he said, were slain, were killed. S-L-A-I-N. Slain means killed, slain. Slay, slain, slain. Kill, killed, killed. Were slain in that great victory. See one ironical thing, interesting thing. The old man was mentioning that battle as great. Great because um, they won that battle. That's why from their point of view it was a great victory. It was a famous victory, great victory. But what is the greatness? Their great victory took the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Normally, the word great is used in positive sense. Great, he is a great man. So this is a great victory. But that great victory, quite ironically, took the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Then, now tell us, what it was all about. Young Peterkin, he cries, and little Wilhelmine looks up with wonder-waiting eyes. Now tell us all about the war and what they fought each other for. So what is that? After hearing this, both of the children, both the sister and the brother, they were surprised and they were wondered. They wondered and they were surprised that such kind of incident could happen in the past. So now tell us what it was all about. So both of them were urging to their grandfather that grandfather, please tell us about that war. It was all about. Young Peterkin, he cries. Young Peterkin, he cries, and little Wilhelmine looks up with wonder-waiting eyes. Both of them became surprised, wondered. Now tell us all about the war and what they fought each other for. So both of them were requesting to their grandfather that please tell us about that war in detail. And why did they fight against each other? What was the reason behind it for fighting? What they fought each other for? Why did they fight? Why did they fight for each other? Fight against each other? What was the reason? Then it was English, Caspar said. Caspar cried. who put the French to rout. But what they fought each other for, I could not well make out. But everybody said, quoth he, that was a famous victory. It was the English, Caspar cried. It was the English, Caspar cried, who put the French to rout. That there, I only know this information, this thing, that there was a fighting between the English and the French forces, and it was the English people or the English nation who defeated the French. Who put the French to rout means defeated them, defeated the French. But what they fought each other, because he was a rural person, village person, rustic old man, so he might not have good idea, sound knowledge about the warfare. Only he knew that the fighting was fought between the English and the French. But what they fought each other for, what was the reason of fighting, I could not well make out. That means the old man said that I could not tell, I didn't know for which reason were they fighting against each other. But everybody said, quoth he, only I know that, only I know this, that everybody said that it was a famous victory. It was a great victory. Why great and famous? Because in that warfare or battle, the English forces or the English force won, defeating the French. So as the Caspar was an Englishman, so from their point of view, it was great victory. They became victorious. It was a great victory to them. Only he knew this information. Only he could tell this, but he didn't know what was the reason behind that warfare. Okay, I think we should stop here.